students, I am Dr. Vijayendra Narayan, Principal, Jamilal College, Hajipur. Today, I want to teach you physics. The topic here is rotational spectra of a diatomic molecule. This topic has been described for TDC part 3 and this topic is covered in paper 7 group C of TDC part 3. See, to excite a molecule, energy is given from outside. As you know, molecule is a combination of atoms. That is, when atoms come together, we form molecule or molecule is obtained. So, to excite a molecule, to give it excitation, that is to bring it from a level 1 to another level, we have to supply energy from outside. So, in this case, we consider a diatomic molecule of mass M1 and M2. This is a linear molecule in which this M1 is at a distance of R1 from the center of mass of this combined system of M1 and M2, and M2 is another mass of molecule that is at a distance of R2 from this center of mass. This center of mass is in between the two, through which an axis perpendicular to the plane of the paper or perpendicular to the line joining M1 and M2 passes, about which this molecule M1 M2 rotates and produces angular momentum. So this is the physical scenario. Now, if the energy amount given to the molecule is greater than this least amount, vibration of the molecule is found. And in case of a still higher energy, electronic excitation is observed. In this description, I want to show you that there is the least amount of energy required to excite a rotational change of energy, and if it is more than that, you find the vibration of the molecule, and if the energy supplied is to the extent that it is more than the amount required for rotation and vibration, then in that case we find the excitation of the electronic excitation I mean. So, if I suppose the total energy supplied from outside is E, then we can distribute it as E rotational plus E vibrational plus E electronic. That is, these are the symbols: E rotational, E vibrational plus E electronic for all these three types of energy, that is rotation energy, vibration energy, electronic energy. Now suppose due to this external supply of energy, the change of energy in the molecule is delta E. Then in that case, how is this distributed among these three types of excitation, that is rotational, vibrational, electronic? So the change in rotational energy will form a part equal to 0.001 electron volt, and that is the least one. In this small amount of energy, the rotational change of level will be available, and if it is in the range 0.1 electron volt, then we find a vibrational change of energy, and that has been denoted by delta E VIB, vibration. Another is delta E electronic. So for delta electronic, the energy is in the range of 1 electron volt. Means to give excitation to the electrons from one electronic state to another, at least 1 electron volt is required. And for this E vibration, this 0.1 electron volt is required. For this E rotation, this 0.001 electron volt is required. So for rotational excitation, the amount required is the least. If you go for comparison between these three types of excitation and their requirement of energy, we can write that delta electronic is equal to or in the range of delta E vibration into 10 to the power 3. That is, this delta electronic is equal to 1000 times the vibration energy of electron. Again, if we equate it to rotational energy, then delta electronic is equal to delta E rotational into 10 to the power 6. That is, delta electronic is 10 to the power 6 times the energy required for rotation in the molecule. Now come to the next point. Thus, depending upon the order of supply of external energy to the molecule, three kinds of spectra are observed, and they clearly are rotational energy, vibrational spectra and then electronic spectra. Here is Y spectra, I mean the spectrum. So in a spectrum, what happens? The electromagnetic radiation is distributed into energies, and they are reflected in terms of frequency. That is, this spectroscopy study the interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. And what happens? This electromagnetic radiation, when is incident on a molecule, it gives a spectrum. And what happens in this spectral line, that is spectrum in the combination of a group of spectral lines. So energy is distributed in this frequency of this spectral line. And this is the study in which we go for this spectrum. Now come to the rotational spectra, which is the concern of the present lecture. Now first we want to know what is a diatomic molecule. A diatomic molecule consists of two nuclei corresponding to two atoms. In the figure 1, I have shown it by A and B, and their masses are M1 and M2. They are at a distance of R1 and R2 respectively. If the diatomic molecule considered is denoted by AB, the electrons contained in these atoms exist in a number of energy levels. When excited, transition of electrons take place from an orbit of low energy to that of higher energy. We find change of energy guided by formula E is equal to h nu. That is, when energy is given to the molecule, the atom goes from one rotational level, that is J dash, to J double dash. And what happens? After a stay there in the higher state, in the range of 10 to the power minus 8 seconds, it comes down to the ground level, or the level from which it has gone up. And we find an emission of light. And in the previous case, there is absorption. So it depends upon what type of a spectra do you want. Actually, rotation spectra is observed only in absorption. So what we find, the frequency of the light will come equal to E upon h. H is the Planck's constant. Means whatever energy we have given to the molecule, if it is divided by the Planck's constant, then we find the frequency of the spectral line that we obtain in this course of action. So now this is elaborated in figure 1. Come to the next. Now let us begin the topic exactly. What is the requirement for having rotation spectra from a diatomic molecule? And this diatomic molecule, be clear that this is a linear molecule. They are in a line. So rotational spectra are exhibited only by the molecules having permanent electric dipole moment. So this is a must. If the molecule is not having dipole moment, then there is no chance of getting this rotational spectra. So this is the basic physical necessity because of which we find the rotational spectra. So the excited electromagnetic radiation can interact with only those molecules, linear molecules, in which we find the molecules are having this permanent dipole moment, and there only you can find the rotational spectra. So pure rotational spectra occur in the situation when this excited electromagnetic radiation is going to react with the molecule with only permanent dipole moment. Now, pure rotational spectra occur in the infrared region. That is, the frequency range of this spectrum is from 700 nanometer to 1 millimeter. So this is the range of frequency in which you can find the or observe the spectra, rotational spectra I mean. And we have to be careful that it is observed in absorption only. Now it consists of a series of absorption maxima which are equidistant on a wave number scale as given below. Actually, wave number, if we divide the energy by Hc, then we find the wave number, and the unit is cm raised to power minus 1. This is just a convention. We generally express in terms of this frequency in terms of wave number. Now we have adopted a rigid rotator model. That is, in the rotator, the diatomic molecule, in which there is no change while rotating. In any kind of change we don't find when this diatomic molecule is rotating. So that is why we say it is a rigid rotator model. So molecule may be non-rigid. That is why we have to note it as a rigid rotator model. Now, a rotating diatomic molecule can be assumed to be rigid rotator with a fixed internuclear distance. That is, the distance between these molecules, the two nuclei of these two molecules, M1 and M2, having mass M1 and M2, must be fixed. Only then this is a rigid rotator. If it performs rotation about the axis passing through the center of mass and perpendicular it, then in that case there is no chance of any kind of deviation from this internuclear distance r that we have assumed equal to a small r. Now the presence of fixed internuclear distance between the two atoms is itself the criteria of being a rigid rotator, that you can see in figure 3 and be assured. A schematic diagram for a diamond molecule is given. They are rotating, they are so rotating. Now come to the other part, the part that is explained now. So what is the moment of inertia first? If this is a rotating system, then first we have to find out the moment of inertia. So for that, first we have to calculate the reduced mass. And that reduced mass, when calculated, comes equal to m1 into m2 upon m1 plus m2. So the moment of inertia I comes equal to mu r square. And if we find or denote the energy of the rotating molecule by E, then this E is equal to half I omega square. Omega is the angular velocity. And further simplified, in terms of this rotational quantum number, it comes equal to j square upon 2y. This is given in equation 3. Now, what we do? There is quantum mechanics involved here. So, simply we take the result from this quantum mechanics and apply here. For simplicity, we will not be going into the full details of this quantum mechanical version, but we just simply apply the result obtained from this quantum mechanics. So, in quantum mechanical version, we replace g square by its corresponding operator. That is, this J square has an operator. Operator operates upon the equation, that is eigenvalue equation, wave equation I mean, and whatever is eigenvalue is there, that will help us find out the value of J or any value ahead. The rotational energy values are the eigenvalues of J square into J plus 1 under bracket H cross square. So what is the eigenvalue here? Eigenvalue here is J into J plus 1 under bracket H cross square. So operator J square just works on this wave function and we get the eigenvalue of it. So what eigenvalue means, only that value can be observed. Now the rotational energy levels are Ej is equal to J plus 1 into H cross square upon 2I. I is the moment of inertia. So finally we get in terms of Bj into J plus 1, and that is in terms of joules, energy in joules, where J is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. These values they can take up. Now V is equal to V cross a square upon 2I, that has been translated as H square by 8 pi square into I. So what we find, rotational spectra arises when transition between rotational energy levels occurs. These transitions are governed by a selection rule. By selection rule, we mean that energy can go from one state to another only following this change of quantum level, rotational quantum number by 1. Either it can be plus 1 or it can be minus 1. Plus 1 will give you the emission spectra, emission line, and minus 1 will give you the absorption line. But we have already said that this rotational spectra is observed in absorption. So that is the practical aspect of it, but the selection rule says that we have to, or we are allowed spectroscopically that delta J should be equal to either a plus 1 or minus 1. Now, change of quantum number by more than plus 1 or minus 1 are forbidden. Means in this branch, that is in spectroscopy, for this quantum rotational quantum spectra, I mean, this the change other than this plus 1 or minus 1 are forbidden. They are not allowed. Means change of quantum number by plus 1 or minus 1 is only allowed. That is when the molecule goes from one state level to another, the change should be only either plus 1, that either it can go to the neighboring next or it can go to the neighboring just below of that particular level in which the molecule is considered. So the spectra form, energy spectrum is given, and that is J0 for J quantum rotational quantum number J is equal to 0, J is equal to 1, J is equal to 2, J is equal to 3, J is equal to 4. That is given in figure 4. And because of that, we find the spectral lines, and this has been plotted. So these are the energy levels of rotational spectrum. Now, spectral lines due to transitions are shown in the lower part of the diagram that we have just discussed. Now come to the next part of it, energy of the emitted photon. How much is this? For that you have to subtract the energy of the jth level and the energy of the j minus 1th level. So if we subtract this energy of the j minus 1th level from this Ej, that is jth level of energy, then what we find, this is equal to 2Bj. Now we have to be very cautious here. Nu is the frequency of the emitted photon given by nu j equal to 2B by h into j. dividing by h, dividing 2v by h, we find the Planck's constant. That is, h is the Planck's constant. So that gives us division of 2v by h gives us the frequency. But if we want to plot or if we want to observe the spectral line in terms of wave number, this is the general convention, then in that case we have to divide this 2v by hc. Obviously, with the values of the frequency of the spectrum known, one can do the measurement of frequency spacing between the approximate equidistant absorption maxima. It is equated to 2v by sc in terms of wave number and the value of B. For equating the spacing between a spectral line, the latter should be plotted in terms of wave number. So that is the difference I have just shown. Now come to the measurement of internuclear distance. So simply we have to find B equal to, that is given as h square by 8 pi square I, or I that you can find equal to mu r square. From that you find the value of r, because B is known here, B is already known. So finally we get this internuclear distance as under root h square into m1 plus m2 upon m1 into m2 into 8 pi square B. Now come to the very important aspect of the rotational spectra, that is the intensity of the spectral line. How intense will be the spectral line? Under this heading, we will know how is this spectral line are giving us the intensities. That is, how to allot the intensity to this spectral line, or how is the lines observed in terms of its intensity. That is, all the lines will not be equally intense. The lines will not be equally intense. So that we have to explain what is the reason behind it. Actually, to answer this question, one has to find out the probability. So probability is the term that we discuss only in quantum mechanics. So here probability help us find out this variation in intensity of the spectral line. So basically there should not be any variation. They are all equally probable. That is, all the lines are equally probable. But what is the reason that all lines are having different intensities? What is the reason working behind? So as we know, the probability of change as per delta J is equal to plus minus 1 rule is almost equally likely to occur. It means in each spectral line, should be equally intense. But this is not the case, since the number of molecules in each energy level is different. The number of molecules in each level taking part in transition will be different. Also, the intrinsic probabilities of transition are the same. Those intrinsic probabilities are the same. But the lines are having different intensities. Reason that is decided by the population of the molecules in each level, and that is guided by the Boltzmann distribution law. And as per the Boltzmann distribution law, we know that if Nj is the population of molecule in jth level, if the population of molecule in jth level is denoted by Nj, and the population of molecule in ground level by N0, so that is given equal to Gj by Gi exponential minus Ej minus E naught in under bracket upon Kt. K is here Boltzmann constant, and J is the degeneracy of the jth level, and G naught is that of the lowest level. So Nj is the population of the molecule for the jth level, and N naught the population in the ground level. Okay. Now, therefore, Nj by N0 is equal to, so this 2 you will find equal to 2j plus 1. That is, the value for Gj will come equal to 2j plus 1. And the value for this G0 is 1. Obviously it is not, because E0 is the value of ground in state level, ground level is E0 is equal to 0. So simply we have to find this Nj is equal to 2j plus 1 e raised to power minus exponential, I mean, Ej by kt. So if I write Gj, that is for jth level, then we find this is equal to 2j plus 1. What does it mean? That is, this is it is 2j plus 1 fold degenerate. This level is 2j plus 1 fold degenerate. And as we know from this Boltzmann distribution law, that it is following this exponential decrease. That is, each level, the population each level decreases exponentially. But here also you find that the number of degenerate levels available increases rapidly with j. So there are two parts of this population. That is, one part is 2j plus 1, another part is exponential minus Ej by kt. So when the value of j increases, what happens? In the beginning, the value will increase. But when the value is much more larger, in that case, exponentially it will go down. So the both are giving us its effect. So finally, what happens? That when the value of j is large, then there is exponential decrease. Fast decrease, I mean. So the graph, that is, we have just plotted this population with j and found out this type of plot. So this plot of curve is between this population and the increasing rotational quantum number. Now we want to find out which value of j gives us the maximum where the intensity, which value of j gives us the population maximum for which the intensity will be maximum. That is, we do differentiate the relative population with j and find the value of j for which population is maximum. Obviously, when the population is maximum, intensity will be maximum. So we just differentiate this Nj with respect to j and equate it to 0 for getting the maxima. So by differentiation and equating to 0, we find j equal to under root kt upon 2hcb minus half. This is given in equation 10. So it means transition between levels with very low or very high j values are having a small intensity, while it is maximum at or near the j value given by that equation only. That is equation number 10 only. Thank you.